So for the last 50 days, I've slept with my mouth taped shut at night, and the results have been crazy. But before we get to how it affected my sleep data, let's talk about what the actual routine was like.
Good morning. This is day one of the mouth strips, and it feels really weird, to be honest. I'm getting like residue on my mouth, like right around here. My lips just feel pretty dry, but I definitely breathe through my nose the whole night, which is all you can ask for. But it wasn't crazy. It was fine, it was fine.
So a lot of people struggle with having mouth tape on when they sleep because they find it uncomfortable or that it really dries out their lips. And the solution I found to this was actually that if you take a strip and put it vertically over your lips like that, it is way less restrictive and way more comfortable, but also keeps your mouth shut very nicely. So that really helped me out and made this whole thing a lot easier. Overall, I didn't feel like sleeping with my mouth tape on made a huge difference in my sleep. To be honest, I couldn't really tell if I forgot it or not, whereas if I had a lot of light in my room or a lot of noise going on at night, I would definitely be able to tell. So to me, this makes a bit of a difference, but not necessarily a huge change actually. But this is before we actually look at the sleep data, so that might tell us more about how it actually affected my sleep. Overall, I'd find times where I'd just wake up in the night and take my tape off, like kind of unconsciously, because I'd be super like tired, and kind of when you're half awake, you don't think things through. So I'd actually find out that when I wake up in the morning, I'd slept half the night without the mouth tape on, which made it a little bit annoying and a little more difficult to stay consistent because I'm not going to reapply it at 1 a.m. And so things like this just made it a little bit more difficult for me to actually use this mouth tape, and makes me a little less inclined to recommend this to people. Personally, I didn't find this dangerous at all. The people who say that it is bad for you or that you're gonna like choke and die are pretty much lying to you. Sleeping with mouth tape is not that big of an issue. It just doesn't necessarily give all the benefits that you think it does. So I wouldn't be scared to try it, and if it works for you, that's totally fine. But personally, it doesn't really make a huge difference for me. Now, let's go look at the data and see if this is actually true. Oh shoot, I turned it on. Okay, so we're back with the air filter stand. You like that? It's tough. Let's look at how these 50 days of sleeping with mouth strips actually affected my sleep and see if it was significant at all. So this slide is showing the control month where I slept normally without any mouth tape. You can see there were a couple nights that were pretty terrible, but mostly pretty consistent nights in there. And so overall, we had an average sleeping time of 8 hours and 30 minutes, 23% REM, 14% deep. Those are the two main metrics that I look at in making sure that the sleep is good. And so optimally, we're shooting for 25% REM and 25% deep. However, that's difficult to achieve, and even I have not yet gotten there. So that's what we're working towards with this mouth tape. So the 50 days I did mouth tape for, from December 1 to January 20. The average sleep duration was a good bit lower. This was partially because I was on a trip, so a couple nights in there were pretty bad, but definitely more volatile, especially in late December, early January, when we're looking over here. So here we had, I averaged these out, and so we had 3% awake time. This is something that mouth strips kind of claim to be able to do, is reduce awake time. So when I had the mouth strips, 3% of the time I actually spent in bed, I was awake, which is healthy. REM sleep, 24.5%. We'll round that up to 25%. That's quite optimal. However, light sleep, we had 56.5%, which is pretty like 6%, 6.5% higher than I'd like it to be. And then light sleep is about 9% lower than I'd like it to be. So those are both in red. They're not optimal. So let's look at the difference between the control month and these 50 days of sleep. So overall, here's what we saw. 2% deep sleep increase, 1.5% increase in REM sleep, a 4.5% decrease in light sleep, however, a 1% increase in wake time. So I attribute this 1% increase in wake time, if it is real and because of the sleep strips, I would say it's probably because sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and just like it's uncomfortable, so you pull it off. And so that's not always a natural waking. It's oftentimes just because you have that weird thing on your face and your body doesn't like it. So overall, these results are really surprising, actually. Like, I was not expecting this. Overall, I did not anticipate an increase at all. This isn't a big increase. 2%, 1.5% is not a big increase, but it's like a 12th higher. Like going from 23 to 25% deep sleep is a pretty significant change. So obviously this is not 100% scientific, but 2% increase in sleep is a pretty good indicator that it might be legitimate, especially that 4.5% decrease in light sleep really does make me think that it could actually be a legitimate method for improving your sleep. So in conclusion, this might actually work. It does not give you life-changing effects. I will repeat that. Sleep strips do not change your health. It's not life-changing. However, it is cheap and it is easy, and people seem to like it. And so overall, the actual quality of your sleep is not going to improve drastically. If you watch my video about doubling your deep sleep in 30 minutes, I'll show you some really drastic changes that you can make simply by getting all the light out of your room. That will change your life. So if I were you and I were looking for ways to improve my sleep drastically, I would absolutely not go to sleep strips first. This is something that is more of an advanced technique that you could implement later if you find yourself mouth breathing. What I would go for first is, instead of spending $8 on sleep strips, I would spend $8 on blackout film, black out your windows, and make your room completely dark at night. Because that will have huge impacts on your sleep. Unlike making small 2% gains in your sleep through mouth strips. Overall, not a scam, but not a miracle drug. There are no golden bullets, only thousands of silver BBs. This is a silver BB, all right? Because it will slowly increase the quality of your sleep marginally and get you maybe a little bit closer to where you need to be, but it's not really life-changing. So don't place all your hopes on this. It might help. And this is just my experience, so other people may react differently to the same thing. This is why I'm testing it on myself, because I don't necessarily see the same effects on my sleep as other people are getting. So overall, try it after you've done all the other basic things. I'll link a video where I will teach you the very basics of sleep. Watch this, do those, and then maybe consider introducing mouth strips, because it's not 100% effective, it's not 100% life-changing, but it could have some benefits. All right, sleep well. Bye-bye.